Life seemed perfectly ordinary with my husband, Ryan. Our evening routine, his light snoring, our shared love for board games on Sunday afternoons. But it all changed one night when I caught him taking late-night calls with a woman named Clara. He assured me she's just a friend, but my gut told me otherwise. As I delved deeper, I uncovered debts, poker games, a formidable Russian named Voronov, and a web of deceit. From high-stakes poker tables to the dark underbelly of the gambling world, join me on this roller coaster journey of betrayal, revenge, and the lengths one will go to save what's dear to them. Every marriage has its secrets, but nothing prepared me for this. My name is Amanda, and this is my unusual story. It was a mild Thursday evening. I was curled up on the couch with my cat, Whiskers, engrossed in the latest episode of my favorite crime drama. The apartment was dimly lit, with the orange glow from the television casting shadows on the walls. The muted hum of the city outside only added to the cozy ambiance. But that ambiance was shattered when I heard it. My husband Ryan's phone vibrating on the kitchen counter. I glanced at the clock. 2:37 a.m. Who calls at this hour? I thought to myself. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Ryan was in the shower, probably unaware of the call. Curiosity got the best of me. I walked over, and the screen displayed unknown caller. I ignored it and went back to the couch, but the nagging feeling persisted. Over the next few weeks, these late-night calls became more frequent. Each time, Ryan would glance at his phone, his face unreadable, and step out of the room to take the call. Every time I asked who it was, he'd say, "Oh, just an old friend catching up." But there was something off about his demeanor. The confident, easygoing man I knew seemed to be replaced by someone edgy, almost secretive. I felt it, that unsettling knot in my stomach. Suspicion started to creep in. One morning, as I was getting ready for work, I found a tiny note in his jacket pocket. "Meet me at the park, 8 p.m. No name, no explanation. I have to know, I said to myself, anxiety and determination warring within me. I decided to take things into my own hands. Revenge? No, not yet. But if he was playing games, I was ready to play them tenfold. It was a risk, but I knew I needed evidence. So I borrowed a voice-activated recorder from a tech-savvy friend and hid it under our bed, hoping to catch one of their conversations. Days went by, and finally, on a rainy Tuesday evening, the recorder caught something. Ryan's voice, sounding almost desperate. "I can't keep doing this. It's not right. She's my wife. She doesn't deserve this." A female voice, cold and unfamiliar, responded, "You owe me, remember? You either continue or things will get ugly." My heart pounded, blood rushing to my ears. Who was this woman? What did Ryan owe her? So many questions swirled in my head. Revenge wasn't just a fleeting thought now. It was turning into a burning need. I was ready to turn the tables on whoever was trying to ruin my marriage. But first, I needed a plan. The need for answers was overwhelming. Every second that passed was torture, not knowing what secret my husband was keeping, not knowing who this mysterious woman was. My once peaceful home now felt like a ticking time bomb. I had to act. I need allies, I thought, turning to my close circle of friends, Jenny and Mark. They'd stood by me through thick and thin, and I trusted them implicitly. I played the recording to them, and their reactions mirrored my own shock and anger. Jenny, ever the planner, said with a steely look, "We're going to find out who this woman is and what she wants." Mark, the tech guru of our trio, suggested we trace the unknown calls. A few clicks and codes later, we had a lead. The calls originated from a tiny coffee shop downtown, known for its quiet corners and private booths. Dressed in inconspicuous clothing, the three of us decided to stake out the cafe. Hours passed with no sign of the mysterious woman. Just when I was about to give up, she walked in. Her raven black hair, red lips, and striking green eyes made her stand out instantly. She seemed to be waiting for someone, nervously glancing at her phone. Suddenly, the door swung open again. My heart skipped a beat. It was Ryan. Their conversation was hushed, but the tension between them was palpable. I needed to hear their conversation. Thinking on my feet, I took out my phone, dialed the cafe's number, and informed them of a fake gas leak. Panic ensued, and everyone evacuated, including Ryan and the mystery woman. As they stepped out, Jenny, pretending to be a panicked patron, accidentally spilled her coffee on the woman, while I quickly slipped another voice recorder into Ryan's coat pocket. As we regrouped at Jenny's apartment later, we anxiously played back the recording. "She's getting suspicious," Ryan whispered. "You think I care? You know what you have to do," she retorted. Ryan's voice trembled. "This isn't about money anymore, is it? It's about control." She laughed, a chilling sound. "You're in no position to question me." I sat there, my emotions a whirlwind of anger, sadness, and betrayal. But underlying all of it was a burning determination. I needed to confront Ryan, but not before I found out who this woman truly was and what she wanted. As the evening turned into night, Mark made a startling discovery. The woman, it turns out, was Clara, a name that took me back to our college days. Clara was Ryan's ex-girlfriend, known for her manipulative tendencies and vengeful streaks. But why was she back? And what hold did she have over Ryan? I decided then and there that Clara had picked the wrong woman to mess with. Revenge wasn't just an idea, it was a plan in motion. That night, my mind was abuzz with memories of Clara. The extravagant parties she'd throw, the trail of broken hearts she'd left, and the rumors of her involvement in some shady dealings. "I thought she'd disappeared from our lives for good," I mused aloud. Jenny squeezed my hand. "We'll get through this, no matter what she's planning." The next morning, we were back at the coffee shop. Our mission: to uncover Clara's current life. Mark, with his penchant for all things tech, had hacked into Clara's social media accounts. As we scrolled through her pictures, one caught my eye: Clara at a high-end casino, surrounded by well-known criminals. "That's it," Mark whispered, pointing to a man beside Clara. "That's Dmitry Voronov, one of the most feared mobsters in the city." The pieces of the puzzle started falling into place. Clara was in deep with some seriously dangerous people. But how did Ryan fit into all of this? My determination to find answers took us to the casino. It was opulent, with gold trimmings, chandeliers, and an atmosphere charged with anticipation. Clara was there, seated at a high-stakes poker table with Voronov. I'd come prepared. With a wig and a change of clothes, I was unrecognizable. Taking a deep breath, I approached the poker table and asked for a game. To my surprise, Clara didn't recognize me. As the game progressed, I could feel Clara's frustration rising. I was winning, and she didn't like it. Taking a gamble, I leaned in and whispered, "You might be used to having control, but not tonight." Clara's eyes widened, but before she could react, I pulled out an envelope. It contained photos of her with Voronov, evidence of their illicit dealings. "What do you want?" she hissed. "I want you to leave my husband alone," I stated. She scoffed. "You think this is about Ryan? This is bigger than your little love story." I had her attention now. "Tell me everything, or these go to the police." She sighed, defeated. "Fine. Ryan owes me. Years ago, I helped him out financially, and now I need him to pay up. Voronov is my insurance. But trust me, once I get what I want, Ryan will be free." I was taken aback. This was about money? "How much does he owe you?" $50,000, she replied. Mark, who had been listening in, interjected, "Looks like you're having a bad night, Clara. What if we strike a deal?" And just like that, we had a plan. A poker game where the stakes were high and the outcome could change everything. As the evening wore on, our high-stakes poker game drew a crowd. Clara, with her piercing eyes and sharp wit, was known as a force to be reckoned with at the casino. But tonight, she looked rattled. Every time she glanced my way, her confidence seemed to wane. I thought to myself, is this really about the money, or is there something more? The tension was palpable. "You're playing with fire," Clara whispered menacingly during a break. I replied, "Sometimes fire is the only way to cleanse." Mark, ever the tech genius, had set up a discreet live stream of the game. Thousands were now watching online, enraptured by the unfolding drama. He'd also set up a crowdfund, pitching it as the game to save a marriage. Donations started pouring in. As the hours ticked by, the pot grew larger and larger. Clara was losing, and she knew it. The mounting pressure made her sloppy. Finally, in a dramatic final hand, I won. But it wasn't just about the money. It was about taking back control. I could see the defeat in Clara's eyes, and for a brief moment, I felt sorry for her. But then I remembered all the pain and chaos she had brought into my life. Jenny sidled up to me, her eyes shining. "You did it!" I hugged her tightly. "We did it!" We had more than enough to pay off Ryan's debt, with a significant amount left over. I decided to donate it to a charity supporting victims of scams. However, the story doesn't end here. With Clara defeated at the poker table, we had a false sense of security. Little did we know that Voronov wasn't going to let things go so easily. 2 days later, as I was leaving work, a black car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing Voronov's cold, steely eyes. "You may have won the game," he hissed, "but you haven't won the war." Chills ran down my spine. I had no doubt he was serious. "I suggest you pay back every penny," he continued, "or your dear husband will pay the price." I was stunned. This had gone far beyond a simple debt. It was personal, and Voronov was out for revenge. That night, my mind raced as I considered our options. Going to the police seemed the obvious choice, but would they be able to protect us from someone as powerful and well-connected as Voronov? What had Ryan gotten us into? As I lay in bed, a plan began to form. If we were going to get out of this, we needed to be strategic and use the element of surprise. "I have an idea," I said to myself, a glint of determination in my eyes. The memories of Ryan's pleading eyes when I found him bound and gagged in that dingy basement played on a loop in my mind. I was running on pure adrenaline as Clara and I made our way to the high-stakes poker table. Voronov's goons kept a close eye on us, ensuring we didn't try to flee or pull a fast one. The room was smoke-filled, and an underlying tension hung thick in the air. Old men with sharp eyes and younger ones with even sharper suits surrounded the table. The chandelier overhead cast shadows that made it seem like we were all part of some grotesque painting. "She's just a friend," Ryan's words echoed in my mind. It seemed surreal that all this chaos stemmed from a woman who was supposedly just a friend. "Welcome to the table, Mrs. Ryan," sneered Voronov, wearing an obnoxious gold suit that screamed mobster. The stakes? Enough money to clear Ryan's debts and my husband's life. Clara, who had grown up in underground poker circuits, had taught me a thing or two over the past few days. But nothing can truly prepare you for a game where your husband's life is on the line. Chips were tossed, cards were dealt, eyes darted. "You got this," I whispered to myself, trying to calm my racing heart. 2 hours felt like 2 lifetimes. Bluffs were called, hands were lost, and the pile of chips in front of me slowly but surely began to grow. With every hand won, Voronov's smile faded just a smidge, replaced by a mounting fury. Clara sent me silent nods of encouragement from the sidelines. The final hand arrived. I had a pair of queens. Betting went around the table. Voronov raised the stakes, trying to intimidate me into folding, but I saw the briefest flash of doubt in his eyes. He was bluffing. I pushed all my chips to the center of the table. All in. The room was silent. Voronov sneered. "You think you can beat me with a mere pair of queens?" He laid out his cards, a pair of tens. The room erupted in gasps and mumbled conversations. The stack of money in the middle of the table was pushed towards me. Voronov, furious and embarrassed, stormed out with a trail of goons behind him. Clara and I rushed back to the basement. With the debts cleared, Ryan was released, albeit with a few bruises. As we drove back home, the weight of what had transpired began to sink in. Ryan sobbed, apologizing for the mess he had dragged us into. And Clara, the mysterious woman who was supposedly just a friend, turned out to be his savior and mine. It was she who had tipped off Ryan about Voronov's tricks at poker, leading to his debt in the first place. It was a ploy to get back at Voronov for a personal vendetta. But she hadn't anticipated things to escalate this far. Ryan and I needed time to rebuild, to find trust again. And while Clara's actions had indirectly put us in danger, she was also the reason we got out of it. We parted on amicable terms, with her heading back to the poker circuit, hoping to use the winnings to bring down more corrupt players like Voronov. Life slowly returned to its mundane rhythm, but with a newfound appreciation for the ordinary moments. Late-night calls were replaced by late-night cuddles, and I couldn't have been happier. The end of this chapter, however, was just the beginning of another. Ryan and I started attending therapy, both as a couple and individually. We opened a small cafe using the winnings as seed money, naming it Clara's, as a nod to the woman who changed our lives in more ways than one. As for Voronov, rumors say he left the country, his reputation tarnished, but every so often I can't help but glance over my shoulder, just in case. After all, in a game of high stakes, you can never be too careful.